protecting wildlife for a sustainable environment. Number 2, role of infrastructure in both protecting and harming wildlife. Lastly, daily choices individuals can make to reduce harm to wildlife. So these are the 3 lines of inquiry which we made using this central idea. Okay, now let's move on toward the learner profiles and ATL skills. Okay, so we were in this theme, fortunately we were able to integrate all of the learner profiles and ATLs because in different experiences we use different learner profiles and ATLs. For example, when we went for an interview, we had to use our learner profile communicator, or when we are researching, we had to use the ATL skill, research skill. Okay, now let's move on towards the student agency board. So in this board, it basically means that this research was our voice, choice and ownership. It depended on us how we wanted to do this research. For example, if I wanted to read articles, I could do it, but no, if I wanted to read books, I could get my information from that. So it was our choice. However we wanted to do this research, we had ownership on our learning field. We could do action however we wanted. If you want to do a presentation, we can, or if you wanted to do something else, we could also do it, and we could also choose which department we wanted to go to. So this was our voice, choice and ownership. Okay, so now let's move on toward the line of inquiry cycle. Okay, so as you can see over here, this inquiry cycle is called the Kate-Mardosh inquiry cycle. It is called the Kate-Mardosh inquiry cycle because it was proposed by the educationist Kate Mardosh. An educationist is a person who studies education. Okay, so this line of inquiry has 6 main steps, which is number 1, tuning in. So to tune in, we made our research questions, central ideas and lines of inquiry which I talked about. So after making all of these things, we were able to tune in. Okay. Then we are finding out. In finding out, like I said, we could get information from various books, articles. It was our own choice. So this is what we did in finding out. We got we took 5 to 10 days to get all of the information which we needed and put it in a document. Okay, then we moved towards sorting out. In sorting out, we sorted our main findings and we made a final document. It was our choice, however we wanted to do it. This time we chose that we want to sort our research into a Word document. So we made our final Word document. After that, we moved on towards going further. And going further, we fill in gaps of our research which we haven't talked about. For example, if I talked about the positive of something, and going further, I will also talk about the negatives, because every positive thing also has a negative. Okay, and then we also went to different departments for data collection. This time we were fortunate enough to go to WWF and Wildlife Rupani, Gilgit, Baltistan. Okay, so then we move on towards making conclusion. In making conclusion, we get our final PPTs or documents ready. It was our choice. This time we wanted to make a presentation on a PowerPoint. So after we did all of this, we got it ready. We move on towards taking action. In taking action, it was also our choice. How would we like to take action? And this time we decided that we want to educate people on wildlife. Okay, so now we have all this covered. I will start on my research. Okay, acknowledgements. I would like to start with the acknowledgements. So these are some things I would like to share before opening the presentation. First, there are many negative impacts of infrastructure on wildlife. Firstly, construction such as roads lead to deforestation because many infrastructure requires resources like wood. Then it can also lead to habitat loss if if roads or infrastructure is built over habitats. And noise and water pollution from highways could affect many wildlife if it's near the wildlife sensitive area, and the drainage water from highways could affect many amphibians. Okay, next slide please. Okay, now let's look at some responsible decisions for wildlife protection. If the government takes these decisions, wildlife would be conserved and protected. So these are several decisions. For example, avoid construction in sensitive areas such as wildlife habitats. 2, use wildlife corridors and underpasses. 3, adjust roads to minimize habitat fragmentation. 4, limit construction during breeding seasons. And lastly, protect long-term ecosystem stability. Next slide. Okay, now let's look at look at the interview findings I was able to get from the DFO and RFO Wildlife Gilgit Baltistan and Mr. Fazal Kareem. Okay, so we were fortunate enough to get these findings. Firstly, we learned that snow leopard and musk deer are actually one of the most endangered species at the present time. And we also learned that human-wildlife conflict occurs due to livestock loss. An example of this is that snow leopards have no natural predators. But the problem is that snow leopards, if they can't find food, they come down from the mountains and they attack the livestock of the natives of Gilgit Baltistan. Hence, the people to protect their livestock, the natives hunt snow leopards. Okay. Then community. Okay, we also learned that community involvement is essential for wildlife conservation because these things require whole communities, not just individuals. We also learned from Mr. Fazal that if you want to educate people on wildlife. We have to start when they're young, because after a certain age, the acceptance rate declines among people. Okay, and a good example of this is that schools should start environmental clubs, because if they start environmental clubs, the youth could learn about wildlife, and since they're not in their teenage years yet, they will accept it, because their acceptance rates would still be high. But after a person gets to a certain age, their acceptance rates decline. So that's the main reason why schools should start environmental clubs. Next slide, please. Okay, now we were also fortunate enough to collect this table from Wildlife Department. This table is the table of vulnerable species. As you can see over here, snow leopard is in the vulnerable category. Approximately only 150 to 200 are left. And then we have the Astor markhor, which is new to threatened. Only 1500 to 2000 of these are left. Then we have the Himalayan ibex, which is thankfully it is common right now, and 6000 to 8000 of these species are left. And then we have the blue sheep, which also falls under the endangered category. Only 700 to 1000 of these are left. And then we have Marco Polo sheep. This beautiful species, only 110 to 150 species are left of Marco Polo sheep, and this also falls under the endangered category. Then we have the musk deer, which is also endangered. Only 100